This is the Momentum Podcast. People always ask me, what's the favorite podcast I've ever recorded? And when I think back to my absolute favorites, it's always where we feature one of our clients. And today is no exception. I think you're going to absolutely love this interview with the first member who's ever joined our new Catalyst program. She's the self-appointed president of the group. I think you're going to love meeting Heather Wright, hearing about her business, the progress she's made in just 6 weeks, and her incredibly funny personality. I'm Alex Sharfin, and this is the Momentum Podcast, made for empire builders, game changers, trailblazers, shot takers, record breakers, world makers, and creators of all kinds. Those among us who can't turn it off and don't know why anyone would want to. We challenge complacency, destroy apathy, and we are obsessed with creating momentum so we can roll over bureaucracy and make our greatest contribution. Sure, we pay attention to their rules, but only so that we can bend them, break them, then rewrite them around our own will. We don't accept our destiny, we define it. We don't understand defeat because you only lose if you stop, and we don't know how. While the rest of the world strives for average and clings desperately to the status quo, we are the minority, the few, who are willing to hallucinate there could be a better future. And instead of just daydreaming of what could be, we endure the vulnerability and exposure it takes to make it real. We are the evolutionary hunters, clearly the most important people in the world, because entrepreneurs are the only source of consistent, positive human evolution, and we always will be. Heather, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. It's especially exciting because you are let's just call it what it is, the self-appointed president of the Catalyst program that we recently launched a couple months ago. You want to share with everybody what that means?
Yeah, so I was the first member of Catalyst. Oh, and by the way, I am just as excited, if not more excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me. But I joined, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago. I was on a call with Jeremy wondering, what's the deal? I listen to your podcast all the time and I want more, right? But I didn't know what that looked like. And I'd been on a webinar and it sounded really expensive and I wasn't sure. And so I was talking to Jeremy and he's like, oh, we just launched this product today. Do you want it? And it was in my budget. I'm like, yes, I want it. And then I was the only person there. And I'm like, what is going on here? I guess I'll take maximum opportunity here. And I became the president. And it's self-appointed, sure, but everybody knows and follows that. If I'd been really thinking about it, I would have been the self-appointed queen and asked people to refer to me as Your Majesty.
Well, it's interesting, Heather. You have a kindred spirit. Her name's Molly Baird, and she was our first member in our accelerator program. And she hasn't designated herself any title, but she takes it just as seriously as you do. And when she comes to events, whenever she asks a question, she just says, for the record, I was the first person in this membership. And then she asks her question. So.
That's awesome. And I've heard of Marley. One of the reasons that I got super interested in your programs is because of the podcast that you did with her. So, truly kindred spirit.
This is so cool. And you know what? Now you're paying it forward and somebody's going to hear this podcast and then maybe come to us as well. So I want to understand a little bit about your business for everybody listening to have context. Can you tell us how long you've been in business? How many people on your team?
Sure. So I have, my business is, we have a couple of divisions. So the main division, the moneymaker of my business, is real estate. We sell residential real estate in Des Moines, Iowa, and I have a small team of agents that sell business under me, and it's a family business. So my brother is on payroll and he's an agent working with me. My mother is our assistant. Well, our mother is our assistant. And so then I have a third person on the real estate team, and she's a past client, not family, but she's become family at this point. So then a couple of years ago, my husband is a little bit older than I am. And I don't know if you know this, but when you are in your late 40s, early 50s in corporate America, it is not easy to be employed in that area. So he had this job that was just killing him. And so here I am, self-employed, independent contractor. And I said, let's just do something together. I've got all this extra time on my hands. Let's do something. So we created another division of the real estate business, and he's a graphic designer. So we were initially going to design flyers for real estate agents, which is adorable in hindsight because what a silly idea. But it has since evolved into a monthly membership for real estate agents where we supply them social media graphics, done for you resources that they can print and use immediately in their business, like a marketing presentation for their listing appointments, buyer, seller timelines, various things that they can use in that regard. So my brother, my mother, my husband, and Heather all on payroll.
That's awesome. So I also have on this podcast today, and I just want to make sure that we make the introduction, is Deanna Pacina, who's our director of coaching and content for our company. And Deanna, a lot of times we get the question like, how do you work with a real estate agent and a company that does video production like Marley? And like, how is it that we can work with just about any organization?
Because we provide a framework, and when you use the framework, it works. I mean, it's magical. You provide the framework, and it's the planning process of going through and looking at what annual goals are and quarterly goals, and really providing the entrepreneurs with the tools that they need to conduct a really thorough analysis of their business and make decisions about what's best for them as they move forward.
So I want to understand that, Heather, but first, can you tell us like what was going on in your business that caused you to come to us and talk to Jeremy?
Well, so I really want to grow the membership for real estate agents because the real estate market is, it has highs and lows. And I've been working on this for a couple of years now thinking, okay, well, when the market slows down for real estate sales, I'll have the membership to back us up and we'll have passive income to save the day for the whole family, which is such BS. Like, is there really such a thing as passive income? Like, I'm so young.
All the passive income I've ever made is taking a lot of work.
Yeah. Like, man, you're looking at 40 pounds of passive income right here. So it is nuts. And, so I've really struggled in doing that. And I am a magic pill seeker. I want this silver bullet. If you've got snake oil, I'll try it. And so, you actually sort of preach the opposite, that there is no magic pill, there's no silver bullet, et cetera, et cetera. And, I thought, okay, well, this guy's saying the opposite of what everyone else is saying. And it sounds like he knows things that I could use and I want to know them too. So that's sort of what made me come to you.
What drew you towards us? Yep. So what was different? So there's so many options out there for somebody in your situation, Heather, like, and geez, it feels like there's 100 being added every day.
Right.
Like how many masterminds and groups and coaching programs and one-on-one coaches and group coaches and online products and podcast and like, there's so much for people who are growing and scaling.
Yep.
What was different about, I'm truly curious, what was different about our product and what, besides just that I was saying the opposite things?
Star power. So I'm a real estate agent. Yeah. Because people think they know real estate, but they don't know. Like people have a tendency to talk to me about wholesale real estate. And I'm like, whoa, what are you even talking about? I have no idea what you just said to me. So there's so many different kinds of business that you can have in the real estate industry. And it is a little insane. And so, I've experienced people who don't actually know what it's like being in real estate, that I was drawn to you because you have that experience. So I've been to conventions where people have said, get out of, what's Howard's quote? Get out of judgment and into curiosity. Get out of judgment and into curiosity. Great time for me to forget what the quote was. And so you say that, and I don't know, it was a couple of months ago this summer, I heard you tell the story on an older podcast about Star Power and how you bought the company and then ended up shutting it down because they had made, I don't know, they built it on a poor foundation by making accommodations. Massive accommodations. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so I thought, well, all right, this guy has sort of an idea of what it is that I go through. And, I'd like to know more.
Here's what's interesting, Heather. Now that you're in the program, do you feel like it's important for us to have specific real estate knowledge to be able to help you?
No. Isn't that
interesting,
crazy?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And when Deanna mentioned framework, like for anybody listening, you might be thinking, oh, well, sure, everyone has a framework, everyone has a recipe, whatever. Like these guys are no joke. This framework is mind blowing. Like I couldn't even copy it if I tried. It's incredible.
Well, so tell us, like, what makes it so mind blowing? How's it different than other stuff? Because you admitted to being a magic pill seeker. Yeah. I just want you to know I commiserate with you. I'm very much the same way. It's been, probably $1 million and 20 years of pill seeking that I've gotten a lot better at it. But what's different about ours than the other stuff that you've tried and maybe hasn't worked?
So it's methodical. I think that is one of the differences. You go through step by step by step. And what is the difference? A lot of people, I think, leave things out, or there's maybe inferences in what you should do next. And there's nothing like that. So this is the program. This is what you do. And there's 2 calls to ask live questions to the coaches each week, where I could ask Deanna a question or Luke. And I can ask in the group, like, hey, what does this mean? Now, you guys have like your own language, which I'm still trying to figure out, like OTAs, waterfalls, and like TIs, what? So, it's definitely a system that is unlike any other that I've seen, and it makes sense and it works. It's confusing a little bit at first, but the more you dig into it, rewatch the 3-minute video explaining something, it all clicks and makes sense.
Yeah. Take us to that first. So you've been in this program 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, we tell almost everybody who's coming in the program, we explain to them, this is a program that's going to restructure your entire business. It's not a quick fix. Like you said, we say the opposite. We actually tell people this is going to be work. It's not easy. It's going to be harder than what you're doing right now. But if you want to have a business that grows and continues to grow, we have a program that'll help. It's been 6 weeks. Can you take, like, when was the moment or time, or maybe, something that happened where you're like, oh, wait, this is actually working?
Probably a couple of moments. So almost immediately, maybe within a week, I stopped the bright, shiny syndrome, where the magic pill seeking sort of controlled itself, and I wasn't easily distracted to another program. And I felt like, oh, I need to keep moving forward instead of wanting to give up because there was not enough direction or whatever the case be in another program. And so then I think maybe the real moment was this morning, because yesterday afternoon, a local real estate agent who's a friend of mine, she was texting me and she was kind of freaking out. And she's like, oh my God, business is so slow. I don't know what's going on. What do you think's happening? And I'm like, dude, same problem here. But that got me spiraling out of control to the point where, by 8:00 last night, I was thinking, all right, well, I'm a big fat failure and I should just close the business up tomorrow and go find a job.
Yep.
Then I think, well, geez, I've been self-employed for so long, I'm completely unemployable. So this morning I thought I should ask for advice in the Catalyst group. And I ended up not having to ask for advice because it's so systematized. I knew what the answer was going to be. So Deanna, tell me if this is correct. I imagined that your advice and answer to me would be when I explained why I think I need to shut everything down because I'm a big fat failure and nothing is working right. We're not making any sales. That like total meltdown mode. I heard you say, well, Heather, is this on your waterfall? Is this on your 5 pillars evaluation? Is this a priority that you need to be working on? Do you have an OTA for this? And the answer to that was all yes. So I'm like, oh, I guess I knew about this problem. I don't really need to freak out about it. So let's just move forward on fixing it.
So it's interesting because as entrepreneurs, and you know what, Heather, you just described something that happens to wait, I want to get confirmation from Deanna. Is that what you would have said?
I would have. And I would like to add that, like, from an outside perspective, watching Heather, I knew that something had happened when she commented in the Facebook group one day that she was just making OTAs for all the things. And I was like, yes, it's worked. She knows exactly what to do. And because she had struggled a little bit through the process of understanding them, but once she got them, it's like the light bulb went off and she knew exactly what the purpose was and the intent was. And what's even better, Heather, and I don't even know if you realize you do this, she's like a de facto coach. She's like in there helping other people in the program. It's really, really fascinating to watch.
I'm waiting for you guys to tell me to stop it, and then I'm going to pull the president card.
Well, here's what's really interesting, Heather. You like you said earlier, especially when we were preparing for this podcast, I've only been in the program 6 weeks. But here's what's interesting. You've been in the program 6 weeks, and I've seen some of the coaching you're doing. It's actually really cogent, really clear coaching. It's crazy how fast you pick things up and you're able to turn around and give advice. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I'm just as smart as I am good looking is what I But actually, no, I think that it's because this system is so clear that there's no room. Oh, then that's a saying in the group too that I can never remember, but there's no room for confusion. Mm-hmm. And so like once you understand, and I still kind of don't really get the difference between metrics and milestones, but you know, I have the formula that I follow. I just think, God, why do we have to have these same words meaning the same thing? But I get it. I'll understand, like interview me in another 6 weeks and I'm sure I'll have a different answer on that. And so I really think that is the easiest part of sort of understanding the system because it is so clear and then being able to explain it to somebody else because there's really just no room for an inference of your own or confusion.
Yeah, the phrase that we use all the time is it has to be easy to understand, impossible to misunderstand, then you've nailed it. And, you know, in planning and communication, when it's easy to understand and impossible to misunderstand, you look at it through those two lenses, it creates crazy momentum, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
So it's been 6 weeks. I just want to ask a kind of a broad question, Heather. Give us contrast to like before you joined the program to now. How have things changed, maybe improved? You know, what's happened for you in the last 6 weeks?
Well, I'm able to talk myself off a ledge. So that's important.
Is that new?
I've probably always been able to talk myself off a ledge, you know, when you're in meltdown mode, but this was faster. So it's improved for sure. I have very clear goals. So you know, I think I mentioned earlier, sometimes I have that bright, shiny syndrome thing.
Yeah.
And that happens to me on a daily basis where you can't see this right now, but my desk is a disaster. And so some days I come into my office and work and I'm like, God, oh, I should clean my desk today. Oh, I should work on this. Oh, I should check on Facebook. I should do all these things. And then I end up actually doing nothing or focusing on a new project. Oh, that person's doing this. You know how it goes. And so having the very clear plan on exactly what I should be spending my time on. You have your normal work, but then once the normal work is done, what are you doing to move yourself forward? I always go back to the 90-day targets and what is on my 30-day plan. And that is part of the waterfall for the listeners who don't understand what that means.
But it's game changing, isn't it? You know, what I always share with entrepreneurs is this. And especially entrepreneurs like you, like, see if you can confirm this for me, Heather. I have this theory that entrepreneurs like the two of us, if we're confident in a destination, if we're confident in the path, if we believe in our plan, we will stand on the accelerator pedal and forget we have brakes. But if we're not confident, if there's some ambiguity, we'll start to procrastinate. We'll start to have behaviors we don't understand. We'll start leaking out like challenging behaviors out of the side. We'll start doing weird things. And that's why for me, I feel like your entire life shifts as an entrepreneur when you're confident in your destination. Right. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. And I think the opposite of having your foot on the accelerator is doing a brake stand. Isn't that what it is? Yeah. So like it's what a relief to move forward. Yeah, because so many entrepreneurs, it really does feel like one foot's on the brake and one foot's on the gas and you're just peeling out the tires and going nowhere. Mm-hmm. And so once you really trust that destination, it changes things. So Heather, is there anything else you'd like to share about the program or your experience? What I'd love to do before you go is make sure that everybody can get in touch with you, just in case anybody wants to know who you are, see more of you. What's a good URL or a good website, or where should they go? Well, if you would like to get in touch with me, you can visit my website, savvyagent.co. We're very tech forward, so there's no M, it's savvyagent.co. and you can send me a message direct from there, refer business, sign up for our program, whatever your heart desires. If there's anything I think that people should know about this program is that, I think it's risk-free. So and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I actually don't work for the Sharpen organization. But I know when I was talking with Jeremy, like I almost had to pry the prices out of him. I'm like, dude, what's next? Like, give me a price. Tell me how to sign up for this. And he laughed at me because that's his non-salesy way of selling.
Yeah.
And
we call it negative pressure sales. Our team's not allowed to ask for a sale. We don't do any high pressure sales at all.
Yes, for this high D person who loves to be sold, it was very annoying. So, so if you're like me, you'll have to ask for more information on those calls with Jeremy. But, then there was a 30-day money back guarantee. If you don't want to be in the program after 30 days, we don't want to force you to do it. And I thought that was great. And I could tell that it was genuine. You guys really meant that. And so I really focused on, I want to make sure that in this 30 days that I get as much value as I possibly can to make sure that this is somewhere I want to be, because I don't want to be 5 months down the road and realize I made a mistake. And I appreciated that opportunity to have that time to give it a run.
That's so awesome, Heather, because you're right. It is fully genuine for us. The way we look at a coaching group is if you're not participating, you're taking away. Mm-hmm. And so in those 30 days are just as much for us as for clients. Like there's been more than once where we reached out to a client and said, hey, this doesn't look like it's working in the first 30 days. So we want people who we can really affect change with and help. And I'm so glad that you're one of them. I appreciate you being here today.
Me too. I can't wait for even more change. Thank you
and I think now that we know that you're the president, you're going to be with us for the next year. I mean, we have to do this at least quarterly so that we can get updates.
Perfect.
Right. And then we just have to have better presidential music or something next time.
Oh yeah. Or Majesty, I don't know. We'll have to come up with a theme song or something.
I'll talk to Karina and see if she can come up with a seal for you. Okay. So Deanna, thanks so much for joining me with Heather, and for being here for the podcast. It was awesome. And if anybody listening is interested in understanding more about the Catalyst program or understanding more about any of our coaching programs, you can go to billionairecode.com, answer a few questions from my team, and you'll have an opportunity to set up a call with Jeremy, just like Heather did, and he will explain to you the options we have for you.